of course, joining us right now to talk about the role of mentorship in supporting gifted learners. Please welcome FLORENCE CHUAH, co-founder, Gifted Education and Mentoring Support. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Florence, first of all, people might be wondering, gifted education, gifted learners, what are we talking about? Can you please enlighten the audience and also us?
Yes, please.
On who are these gifted people?
Okay, so maybe the term gifted in Malaysia is a bit confusing because we've got kanak-kanak istimewa, but that's special needs, right? So gifted is kanak-kanak pintar cerdas, right? And dan berbakat. So we've got gifted and talented. The terms are sort of interchangeable in a way, but my focus is more on gifted because talent can be sort of nurtured. Right, even if you're not gifted, you can somehow get there, right? But for gifted people, gifted learners, they it's like an inherent, natural, inherited ability, but it will not necessarily show or emerge until they have a chance to practice, to explore. Yeah. So we're talking about. Often we talk about IQ,
right?
You know, intellectual abilities, right? So that's what most commonly people would think about gifted education. But actually, there's also other intelligences, as you might have heard of. Different like musical intelligence, creativity, creative intelligence. Some will call it imaginational intelligence. We've also got some physical intelligence. Yeah, so I guess the focus on gifted education is intellectual because they believe that you can explore all these outside. You know, so for example, someone's good at music, you skip their grades, right? Yeah, but when it comes to, in school, that's a bit of a grey area of like, how do you just skip them? Yeah, so...
What would be their struggles? Because you're talking about gifted people, and obviously there's us, you know. So what would be the obstacles for them to go through a normal education route in Malaysia?
So you say that's a very interesting point because everybody is gifted. Sorry, my mistake. Everyone has gifts, but not everybody is gifted. Okay. So everyone has gifts. So everyone has some level of intelligence, of course, but some just have like exceptional ability towards the higher end. Right. So that's where giftedness comes in. Yeah. But like the score, it depends on what test you take and all. A rough idea is 130, but again, depends on the assessor, how it was taken, whether that person is in the right state. Again, it doesn't really always capture it right when you go for a test. So I often we move on to the next topic of how do you describe these people, right? I think the easiest way to describe them is someone who is more intense and more complex, okay, compared to their age peers. Yeah. So you've got a very young child thinking about the leaf falling, and he's feels so sad about it. Yeah, because he thinks about life. You know, they think very deep, potentially. Right, so it depends on which area they are gifted in. Yeah, so if they are emotionally and sort of this philosophically thinking, so then they will be deep in that area. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, we have to talk to Florence.
Did you bring any accessor here in the studio? Okay, now, Gifted education gained its momentum in the year 2006 after it was recognized by the Ministry of Education because of your specialized programs, so on and so forth. Maybe you can talk to us about that particular recognition that was given.
Yeah. Actually, it started quite a while back. Even when I was in school, I mean, there was like...
That's a very dangerous
That's a long time ago. Yeah, but I remember I was 12, I went for assessment. They were actually assessing people, right? But like I went for a camp, and it was like a one-week thing, and they were like, I remember a lot of writing, and my parents had no idea what camp I went for. They just signed me up for something. Yeah, they said, oh, it's just something that's very hard to get in. I didn't get in, but that also kind of shifted from that. There was a pilot project called Program Baka, and now they've got Permata Pintar, which is the program that is now in place, right? So from there, they have now accounted for those who are gifted and also have a disability, right? So someone could be highly gifted in one area, but the other areas they might struggle, or the other areas they might be also gifted, or the other areas, like let's say we talk about cognitive, right? Cognitive, so like processing speed and perceptual reasoning. Well, there's a lot of technical terms, but I'm just giving examples. Yeah. So with these schools, they try to cater for gifted people. So we have free screening every year. They conduct free screening for any learner. It's an online test, right? And then that's the first stage, and then you've got a second stage of they go in and take the test, and then they got a third stage, and they got camps to sort of to see how you do. You know, they test your resilience, they test your how you handle stress.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. Sounds difficult.
Try. Everyone should go try, right?
But it's actually intense in a way so that, you know, these individuals can be identified, and then obviously there's a path for them to move forward, right?
Yeah, but I have quite a dangerous question here, Florence.
I think you should ask. Just ask.
Yes, because you know sometimes
I will invest.
I will invest. You know how sometimes children and kids, they do exhibit unique traits, unique behaviors.
Yeah.
And I guess it could go both ways. Sometimes you take them to the doctors and it's a case of neurodivergency.
Yep.
So how closely are those two groups of people related? People who are neurodivergent and also people who are gifted learners. Are they related in any way?
Actually, neurodivergence just means different thinking from the average. So anyone that's below average, well, they call it slower learners. They tend to group them there, ADHD, autism. Is a neurodivergent. Well, so is gifted, because it's different, right? Yeah, just different in different ways. And it's also possible for a person to be gifted as well as have some other exceptionality. So we call it twice exceptionals.
Wow.
But that's a smaller range, you know? Yeah, so gifted, there is also just gifted people. Yeah.
Perhaps can you give us an example of a child who is gifted?
Okay, so for example, if the teacher asked them to draw, let's say, Coliseum, you know, and they had the model right there, it was colorful, really standard, and then a gifted child might draw it quite differently. They might draw it no color, but like full of monsters and things going on, right? And I mean, oftentimes we get comments like, why is he not following instructions? Right?
Okay.
Why can't he even listen to something so simple? Why can't he do that? Right? And if the kid hears that, and they would think that it's wrong to be different, to be creative, to be innovative, and kind of give the idea that everyone should just do what AI can produce, right? Or the AI generated art, the standard stuff. So that's where it becomes. I guess that's why gifted education, the awareness of that, is important. Because it applies just to everyone, not just to gifted learners. You know? This sort of intellectual risk-taking, they said, you know, always question why. Teacher's not always right. Textbook's not always right. Some things has not been discovered, right? So these are like curiosity, like openness to learning. These are hallmarks, actually, of inherent gifted learners. But because of environment, because of society, sometimes we try to just make them follow, you know, follow the rules. So that's where we tend to lose some of them.
I think it's quite cool in that sense that gifted learners, I mean, this is not new.
It is not.
It's not new. As you mentioned, no, it was actually back then when you were in school. I'm sure we were in school so as well. And then it goes on to the generation before that. But coming back to this generation right now, 2024, present times, to identify them at home first before they actually approach gifted education, so on and so forth. What would your advice be to the parents out there?
I would suggest let your child explore, you know. Give them space to find out what their interests are, right? And also always ask why, right?
Okay.
Asking why, like I think like our previous guest speaker saying, why are you doing this, right? So like really find out why, what is like the underlying thing. So for example, why are you feeling this way? You know, why are you interested in that? Yeah, so like let them explore. So if it's just a matter of, let's say my child likes to play with water, before bedtime I used to just scold him because he takes so long to brush his teeth. And I'm like, one day I just went and see, oh, he was experimenting with water and then drowning flies, putting soap. And I was like, oh, you know, I felt so bad because I misunderstood him, right? Yeah, but you know, the tip for that is just let them do that earlier, right? Not at bedtime, so that at bedtime they don't have to, you know, have that need to explore, and then they can brush their teeth and go and sleep.
So it's very important to let the child explore, as you mentioned. Just observe them and see what they do.
Yeah.
So, I always kena marah last time if I start doing that.
No, there is I remember this one fact where, you know how Asian parents, when the kids start to climb things?
Yes.
And they always ask us to like not to climb it?
Yes.
But then again, I've read somewhere Western parenting in which they would let the kid actually climb and get the feeling of success when they get on top of whatever the thing that they're climbing. And then it will give them a sense of satisfaction. And I guess that's a different way of raising your child. Yeah. And it's very interesting that letting them be could be is how you would find out whether the child is gifted.
But not too much also, because you let them be, then some kids will be too smart and they hack the system or they figure the system out. So for example, if they've got online comprehension tests or exercises, I think my kid picked up that I use Control F, and then he just uses Control F to do all his exercises without having to read the whole article.
Cool.
Just look for key points. So you have to guide them as well, right? You need to you journey closely with them.
Yeah, they are very smart after all.
They are. So too smart is a problem.
Yeah.
But I wonder how these programs that you've mentioned are different from your standard education institutions, like schools, for example.
So for example, the Permata Pintar, they would actually allow them to accelerate. Right, so of course they have these kids. Some at the camps they're already doing Form 5 syllabus, and they're 12-year-olds. You know, they have that natural interest already, and they are way beyond. Yeah, they have done way beyond at their own pace already. So it's kind of like just matching with the pace that they're at. Yeah, so it's not for everyone, of course. So it depends. There's also gifted schools for musicians as well. Yeah, so in Istana Budaya, they actually have auditions. I'm not sure if it's yearly, but they do, yeah. And Seni Tari is also had Permata Seni. They have auditions for gifted dancers.
As someone who come from the arts, I'm like very surprised with this, and I think it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So it's just not intellectual that Permata Pintar. We've got the different Permatas, and there's also Permata Insan, which caters for religious education in that sense.
Yeah, Florence, excuse my ignorance, but I have to ask. How does it look like in Malaysia, gifted learners? Are there a lot of them here? What's the size of these programs in schools?
About 300 gets in a year. So they split between three intellectual. We just talk about intellectual, right? So 100 per school, and there's got one in North, one in Bangi, and one in Negeri Sembilan. Yeah. Okay. So they split between 3. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And there you have it. We're looking actually at the rules for intellectual risk-taking.
Yeah.
It's right now on the screen. Maybe Florence can talk to us more about that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I was mentioning earlier. All right. So like how we encourage learners to ask why, explore. Sorry, I can't really see this.
Okay, no worries. And it says, okay, obviously it's about asking questions, and I think the key word here is exploring. You just need them to be able to explore, and what Florence just mentioned, not too much. Right? And Florence, you coming back to this gifted education, and I saw something that really caught my eye, which is socio-emotional development. The lack of it, right? So does that mean, like what you mentioned just now, you stop them from actually exploring, you pin them down when they start exploring and stuff like that?
Yeah. So that is from one aspect of, let's say, creativity. Okay. So we've got the social-emotional means, like, for example, if someone's got really high emotional intelligence, and they will definitely need the depth, the bonding, complex. And if parents are not aware of that, they would just, dismiss it.
I mean, parents are just busy these days with their own work. It's something so small that creates a huge impact is often swept under the rug.
Yeah, but we didn't expect that the child might be emotionally gifted, right? Because they're just doing their best to cater for basic needs. Okay. But these kids, sort of, their basic needs are a bit different, right? Yeah, because of the depth that they need, the complexity, the assurance that they need, because they jump to conclusions quite fast as well if they just get half the picture. So these kids need to connect all the dots to see the big picture, they're big picture thinkers. So if something's missing, it's hard for them to grasp the whole thing. So it's the same thing with learning in class as well. So they need to know why this formula, how this formula came about, and not just told to memorize the formula. They can't. They can't.
I've got 2 questions for you, Florence. I guess there are some of us who are actually gifted, but for some reason it's not been detected early, so we don't go through the right education and program. But I wonder what would happen to these gifted people if they don't attend the programs. I mean, if they just go to a normal school, what would happen to them?
Some of them get outcasted, some of them start to have behavioral issues. So imagine like a cheetah, there's so much of power and energy, but they're put in a cage. Right? In order to see them run at 70 miles per hour, you need to have a big field. Yeah. Right? So you have that analogy there. Yeah. So what would happen if you were just caged in as a cheetah?
So you want to realize all these potentials, basically.
Yes, but it's hard to realize if you don't have the avenue to do so. Right. So yeah, intellectual risk-taking, as earlier, those are really good tips for anyone to use, and then you can see your gifted learners emerge. right? Yeah.
I'll do that to my kids one day.
Even yourself actually starts with you. Parents, honestly, it starts with you.
Yeah.
So number one key is be mindful of yourself, of others, and then you can observe things. You not just follow everything it's supposed to be done, how it's always been done. Just observe, and sometimes they can tell you the answer what they need. Yeah.
Quite a personal question here, but you wrote a paper with your mates on this topic.
Yeah, co-authors. Yeah.
But what made you got so invested in gifted education?
It started with my kids having trouble in school. Yeah, so some of them were like, one of them was hitting people, really very aggressive. Yeah, and some of them are just really bored, and they also cause trouble when they're bored. So, yeah, that is the reason why. And actually, my eldest child, he started having sort of very negative thoughts at a very young age, almost just before he turned 6. You know, he hits his head, saying that he wants to die, and I'm like, why? And that's after losing a game to me. So yeah, I was like, okay, and we found out that he was being bullied in daycare. Yeah, and someone called him dumb or stupid out of jealousy, and that got to him. So these gifted kids, they often identify their self with being smart, because they've been told smart all their life, right? Right. So the moment that someone tell them they're not, then they just lose their whole self identity. And so that's why that's where we come in as mentors for gifted mentoring. We sort of find out what's causing them to have the behavioral issue that they have, the underlying issues. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding between the parent and the mom, just a joke between the parent and mom, say, oh, I'm going to kick you out when you're a certain age, and they believe it and they hold on to it.
Wow.
And sometimes just discovering that just ease the tension and the trust.
It's quite scary, because it's about it's not just that problem that you see, but it's a problem that actually facing that you don't see, that eventually reflects when you confront them. Now, I think identifying these issues, I think it's really cool in that sense that you guys are doing a fantastic job. Now, at your place at Gifted Education and Mentoring Support, how many people do you have to mentor these gifted learners?
You mean like in my team now?
Yes, in your team now.
At the moment, it's just 2 of us.
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
Because it's like really just about to start up. So, yeah. And someone did ask, if I want my other child, the sibling, also wants to be profiled, do you have another mentor that can help? I'm like, it's not easy to find people like this, honestly. Yeah, because it takes time. Yeah, and I mean, we definitely need someone who's able to also function the way that they do. So it's kind of a lived experience service.
Goodness, Florence, you have lots on your plate.
Yes, I have a lot on my plate. Yeah.
Right.
And it opens up. I mean, maybe I am gifted also, Brendan. You don't believe me?
No, I don't.
You guys can come find me.
Oh, we will find you. But it's nice to see that you've seen things from your children and you actually got the right steps. You assessed it early and you managed to find out what's going on. I think it's very important, because maybe some parents out there, they might be watching this and their kids might be behaving differently. Or
in certain ways. Maybe some ways that you mentioned. Maybe in some ways that you've not mentioned.
Yeah, every gifted child is different.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't say, oh, you're going to like that, you're going to like that.
Or is there like a common one?
So the common traits is intense, curious, extreme curiosity, extreme intensity, and just questioning. Always trying to change things, possibly. And some are more introspective, like very deep thinkers. Yeah, like they go down rabbit holes. People will think that they'll be weird. But again, if let's say the environment doesn't encourage that and they get punished for that, they might stop doing that.
Back then, I used to catch ants and tadpoles. I mean, is that okay?
All right. Thank you so much, Florence, for this gift today. You've been sharing with us your gift. It's been very, very interesting. It's been very, very wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, Florence CHUAH, the co-founder of Gifted Education and also Mentoring Support.